The gods of Norse mythology knew exactly how the world was going to end. They knew the date. They knew who would die. They knew they were going to lose. And they showed up anyway. That's Ragnarok. Not just an apocalypse, a prophecy, a fate written before the gods themselves were born. And what makes it one of the greatest stories ever told isn't the destruction, it's what the gods chose to do, with the knowledge of their own doom. Today we're going into the full story. The signs, the monsters, the deaths, the battle, and what came after. This is Norse mythology at its most raw, its most honest, and its most human. Before the fire and the wolves and the end of everything, there were signs. The Norse sources are specific about what the world would look like in the years before Ragnarok began. First came Fimbulwinter, the Great Winter. 3 consecutive winters, with no summer between them. Snow driving in from all directions. Bitter cold that didn't break. Crops failing. Livestock dying. Communities turning on each other in desperation. The ancient sources describe it as a time when the bonds of human society collapse entirely. Brother killing brother, father against son. Not because of monsters or gods, just because survival pushed people past the edge of who they thought they were. There's a reason scholars have speculated that this detail might be rooted in actual history. In 536 CE, a volcanic eruption caused a prolonged cooling across Europe and Asia, a literal years-long darkening of the sky. The Vikings, who eventually recorded these myths, lived in the shadow of that memory. Fimbulwinter wasn't just myth, it was a scar. After the Great Winter came the cosmic signs. The wolf skull, who had been chasing the sun across the sky since the beginning of time, finally caught her. The wolf hati caught the moon. The stars went out. The sky went dark. Then the earth itself began to shake. Every chain, every fetter, every prison, in all 9 worlds, burst open at once. And from those broken chains, something ancient and terrible walked free. Loki had been imprisoned beneath a mountain. The gods had chained him there as punishment for engineering the death of Balder, the most beloved of all the gods, the one being in all the 9 worlds that almost everything had sworn not to harm. Almost. A single plant had been overlooked, mistletoe, and Loki had used it to kill him. For that, the gods bound Loki with the entrails of his own son, beneath a serpent that dripped venom onto his face for eternity. His wife Sigyn held a bowl to catch the drops, but when she had to turn away to empty it, the poison hit him, and his writhing caused earthquakes across Midgard. Now the chains were gone. Loki was free. With him came his children. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, so enormous that when he opened his jaws, his upper jaw touched the sky, and his lower jaw scraped the earth. Fire blazed from his eyes and nostrils. The gods had kept him bound since he was young, knowing what he was destined to do. Now he ran free across the world, devouring everything in his path. From the ocean rose Jormungand, the Midgard serpent, so vast it had encircled the entire world beneath the sea. With its body, now it writhed up onto dry land, sending catastrophic floods across Midgard as it came. And across those floods sailed Naglfar, a ship made entirely from the fingernails and toenails of the dead. The Norse were so disturbed by this image that they traditionally cut the nails of corpses before burial to deny material to the ship's construction. Naglfar carried an army of giants and the dead, captained by Loki himself, sailing toward the plain of Vigrid, where the final battle would be fought. From the south came Surtur, the fire giant, ancient even by the standards of Norse mythology, carrying a flaming sword that blazed brighter than the sun itself. He marched at the head of an army of fire demons, and where they walked, the earth burned. Heimdall, the watchman of the gods, saw all of it coming. He raised the Gjallarhorn, the great horn whose sound carried across all 9 worlds, and blew. The sound rang through every realm. Odin heard it. The gods heard it. The warriors of Valhalla heard it. They had been training for this moment since they died in battle. They took up their weapons and marched out to meet the end. The plain of Vigrid was vast, described in the sources as stretching 100 leagues in every direction. It needed to be. What gathered there was the entirety of existence, on both sides. Odin rode out on his 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, wearing his golden helmet, carrying his spear, Gungnir, the All-Father, the god of wisdom and war and poetry and death, the king of Asgard, who had sacrificed an eye for knowledge and hung himself on the world tree to learn the secrets of the runes. He rode straight for Fenrir. He knew what was going to happen. He had seen it in his visions. He rode toward it anyway. Fenrir swallowed him whole. Odin's son, Vidar, the silent god, who had said almost nothing across all of Norse mythology, but had been given a special boot made from all the leather scraps ever discarded by cobblers, stepped forward. He drove his foot into Fenrir's lower jaw and tore the wolf's mouth apart, killing the beast that had killed his father. Thor went for Jormungand, the Midgard serpent, his ancient enemy. They had clashed before. Now was the final reckoning. Thor killed it with his hammer Mjolnir, then took 9 steps and fell, overcome by the poison the serpent had breathed on him. 9 steps. That detail survived 1,000 years of oral tradition. Freyr, the god of fertility and sunshine and abundance, faced Surtur the fire giant. He had once given away his magical sword, the sword that could fight on its own, as a gift to win the woman he loved. He fought Surtur without it. He lost. Tyr, the one-handed god of law and justice, fought the Hound Garm who guarded the gates of hell. They killed each other. Heimdall and Loki, who had been enemies across centuries, met in combat. They killed each other. The gods fell one by one, exactly as the prophecy had said they would. And then Surtur raised his flaming sword and swept it across the world. Asgard burned. Midgard burned. The great world tree Yggdrasil shuddered. The earth cracked open and sank beneath the sea. Everything went dark. Everything was gone. And then, the earth rose again. Green and new, lifting out of the sea. Waterfalls cascading, eagles flying, unsown fields already bearing grain. The world reborn. Not all the gods had died. Vidar survived. Vali survived. Magni and Modi, the sons of Thor, survived. And with them they carried Mjolnir, their father's hammer. Hoder and Balder returned from the dead, emerging from the underworld, into a world that finally had a place for them. They met on the fields where Asgard had stood, and found there the golden game pieces the old gods had once played with, scattered in the grass, like relics of a world that no longer existed. 2 humans had survived as well. Lif and Lifthrasir had hidden themselves in the wood of Yggdrasil during the fire, sustained by morning dew. They emerged to repopulate the new world. A new sun rose, the daughter of the old one, brighter and warmer than her mother had ever been. Here is what makes Ragnarök genuinely extraordinary, and why it has outlasted almost every other apocalypse myth in human history. The Greeks had gods who were petty and immortal. The Judeo-Christian tradition had a god who was all-powerful and would ultimately prevail. But the Norse gods were neither. They were mortal. They were flawed. They had already been told the story of their own ending, in detail, and they chose to keep going anyway. Odin spent centuries preparing, collecting the best warriors who ever died, gathering knowledge at any cost, not because he thought he could win, but because showing up with courage, in the face of certain defeat, was the only thing that mattered. The Vikings who told this story weren't offering comfort. They were offering something harder and more honest, that a good death in a worthy cause is its own kind of victory, that how you face the end matters more than whether you survive it. 3,000 years later, that idea still hits. If you want more myths like this, the real versions, the dark ones, the ones with something real to say, subscribe. Next time we're going to Egypt, and we're covering the murder and resurrection of Osiris, a god killed by his own brother, dismembered, and brought back to life by love. Don't miss it.